We're the rebels of the digital age, rocking hard like the heroes on a rampage. There is an educational revolution in the air. We're here to show you we've got flair. Gotta raise the stakes, artificial and human minds. No time for mistakes. We're the pixel warriors, fighting side by side, diving deep into the code. Let the sparks collide. Level up your AI knowledge, let it flow through the phases. Us in the future, unleash the technology race. Every outcome mastered, we're one step closer to the sky. Level up your reality, it's the week of AI.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Stream 2. I think I'm 2. I'm so excited to be your host for this stream, and I have some really amazing educators coming your way. And so for the first exciting day of Week of AI, well, first of all, my name is Erica Sandstrom. I'm better known as Green Screen Gal. And like I said, I'm thrilled to be here among these innovators. I'd like to, before we start with our next guest, I'd like to give a big shout out to Swivel for our platinum sponsor for the week. They are incredible. I have a mirror in my classroom. It is a game changer. Their support makes this incredible journey in AI and education possible. And I want to give a big shout out to Amanda Fox for creating this adventure for all of us. That girl has worked so hard. Oh my goodness. She's a true superhero, and it's imperative that we all dive into AI. And, it's not going anywhere. It's in putting something like this on is such a blessing. I'd also like to thank Brisk, who has made sure that we all look sharp in our conference tees. Okay. And if you're ISTE bound, you want to have one of these. So definitely go to our store and grab one, because you can get a free ticket to a lot of ISTE meetups. So don't forget to grab your shirt and join the fun. So tonight we're going to dive into AI and education and get ready to level up, teaching your skills, unlocking secrets of digital learning, and an epic journey to our future. I feel like I'm on a spaceship. So who we have today is Mr. Matt Rhoades with Revolutionize data-driven decision-making with AI tool. I'm going to bring him up and then introduce him. Here he is. Hi, Matt.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me for a week of AI. I'm excited to present and share with the education community.
Awesome. And let me tell you more about this incredible man. Matt is a seasoned leader in educational technology, instructional strategy across online, blended, and traditional classrooms. He empowers educators through coaching, training, integration of research-backed ed tech tools. As a published author and doctoral dissertation chair, he specializes in amplifying student learning with technology. Matt also hosts Navigating Education, the podcast, and offers expertise to teachers and leaders worldwide. And definitely check him out, our Dr. Rhoades, at MatthewRhoades.com. And very excited to let him get going. Enough about me. One quick reminder to go to our Padlet map. I will leave a link in the chat for you to get into our Padlet map. And whoops, that shouldn't be. So where you can go into this Padlet with this QR code and tell us where you are in the world. We'd love to know. Okay. Enough about me. Let's get this show going. There you go.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Erica. I appreciate your work as a host, as well as Amanda and all the sponsors for Week of AI. I think it's a fun opportunity to see what educators are doing across the world with all these various types of tools and strategies, and really kind of putting it in the hands of educators to see if we can make our lives easier, as well as enhance student learning environment. So today, really focusing on data-driven decision-making with AI tools. And really, a lot of the research boils down to, historically, for data literacy, is essentially educators never really had time to do a lot of these calculations and complete a lot of these tasks, because, as we know, educators, teachers, and school leaders are extremely busy. So that really creates a lot of problems. But now I think there's a lot of solutions where we can use AI to support educators to make decisions rather quickly with the use of really great prompts, as well as exporting data from a variety of different sources to support their decision-making processes. And I do this quite often in my day work as a tech integrationist for a consortium of adult schools, and as well as my work with doctoral students as their chair, as their research supervisors. So really a lot of this is really applicable to really anyone in education, and I look forward to really jumping into this. And as you know, you can check me out at mattrhoades.com, and then you can follow me at mattrhoades1990 on Twitter/X, as well as Dr. Rhoades EDU on Instagram, and then Matthew Rhoades on LinkedIn. So really boiling down to why, really want to think about this as just an opportunity for us to support our instructional decision making and ensure we have better learning environments for students. But before we jump into really the workflow of how to do this, we want to think about these prerequisite themes and items for us is that really in order to do this in a way that is ethically, as well as in a way for us to do it in a way that has a degree of validity and reliability, we need to have some expertise or background in digital literacy as well as data literacy. If we don't have a background in some statistical calculations or don't know what they mean, then we will have some problems performing these tasks. So really, we have to have background knowledge and content knowledge to do this. So you have to be still an expert. You can't use the AI unless you actually know what you are really wanting it to do, and for you to check it at times. We all know that there's hallucinations. And also think about this as having an ongoing conversation. I think all the times that we're working with AI is, I think you think of it as an evolving draft and you're revising as you're going. So when you're doing statistical calculations with AI, just know it's an ongoing conversation. Be sure when you're doing these types of calculations to include the qualitative data, so stories found in our data, so background knowledge and context related to what's going on in a school or classroom, because I think that's important that you can also add and triangulate at one point or another later in your calculations. So I think that there's a variety of different things to consider besides just the hard quantitative data. And you can do a lot of this data analysis on a variety of different tools. And as you can see, this presentation is a little bit dated because Bard is now Gemini. So, but you can do it on all these platforms to an extent. But we'll be focusing on GPT-4. And today, really, what's really exciting is that almost every feature I'm showing you today is now released to the public for free through the new GPT-4 features that have been provided to the public for free. And you've had to use a GPT Plus subscription. And I've been doing this type of calculations really since last summer. So it's almost been ever since Code Interpreter really came out, and I was kind of doing a little bit of beta testing with it initially. So been doing this for almost a year now. But really, I've added over time different plugins, and I really like to use the consensus plugin because what that plugin does is that you can take your, and I'll show you later, is you can take your results from your data calculations and you can put it into consensus, which is a repository of hundreds of millions of research articles. And you can see kind of based on your data where exactly you want to start your research with. And you can, with some good prompting, narrow down some articles to begin looking at so that you can look at what are some practical ideas or some solutions that you can try within your classroom, school, or district based on the data results. So it's really, really exciting. So feel free if you want to, as you participate and talk about what we're discussing today on social media, feel free to tweet me at mattrhoades1990 and talk about how you're using data in your context, whether you're in a classroom, school, site, or district level, university, higher ed, wherever you're at. And for those that do tag me, you can get an opportunity to win a free book from the AMP Global EDU series or the 50 Tips for New Teachers book. So feel free to tag me as we go, as we continue the conversation, and I'll respond to you as well as we go through this. Really, there's 4 major quadrants that I've already began kind of alluding to earlier on before I jump into doing this work, is that we're doing this for 4 major reasons. And we want to have our data to make evidence-informed decisions. So we take data that's from our own context and environment and determine what are the trends going on, and then determine through research, collaboration, etc., for us to make evidence-informed decisions to support student learning rather than just going by intuition. We want to make evidence-informed decisions. And when we talk about the next factor is that with AI, so historically it's taken a long time to clean, transform, and analyze data. So for example, when we're exporting data from a spreadsheet, sometimes there's mistakes or things don't exactly export well from a particular tool onto a spreadsheet. And now we have the ability to really clean it with AI quite quickly. But I'll leave this caveat here is that be sure when you're exporting any data, bring it up on the spreadsheet, review the data, and then also take away any sort of identifiable information for privacy concerns. So be sure to make everything anonymous for your work. So it's really important for you to do that when you're cleaning that data. And what I mean by exporting it, just for those that may not know, is that a lot of our EdTech tools have the ability to export student data onto spreadsheets or CSV files. So basically assessment scores, time on task, different students' actions. We can look at qualitatively as well. So would they discuss within that particular tool in a free response question, or can even do it with interactive AI bots now. So there's a lot of information that we can export for further analysis. And speaking of open response, we want to not forget about the qualitative data. So if we're looking at hard data, such as test scores, assessment scores, attendance, behavior tallies, this could even be used for funding. Always remember to try to include qualitative data at some point in your analysis so that you can give the AI more context, because there is a lot of context that goes on in schools and classrooms. So please definitely try to include that context, because context is really key. Additionally, we want to look at this as a time saver. Historically, this has been data-driven decision-making taking a lot of time. And now we can take something that could take an hour or longer and turn it into maybe a 5-minute exercise. Although, like I said, the caveat is you need to understand what's going on with the statistics, and also have taken a little bit of a look of the data that you're going to be looking to export into GPT-4, or, for example, Claude. It works quite well. And also experimented with Google Gemini recently with being able to take a picture of a printed out data and upload it to Gemini, and it uses its ability to then create graphs from that. So it's pretty incredible. But with my research and a lot of researchers in the field of data literacy for educators, really time and efficiency has been a big hurdle. But now I think we have the ability to jump that hurdle. So let's do some demos. So let's do a demo with some iReady data as well as some attendance data. So I've taken an entire year's worth of iReady data, math as well as reading, from a hypothetical 3rd grade class. And I've done the same thing with the 3rd grade class's attendance. And I have exported those from a variety of different tools. You can export it from iReady as well as your student information system. Just be sure to delete all the student's personal information before putting it into any AI tool. And here's a major prompt that you can use before you upload those CSV files. So I said, you are a third grade teacher analyzing data. I'm uploading data that contains iReady math and English scores for the 2023-24 school year, as well as yearly attendance. I would like a descriptive statistical analysis of the data, followed by visualizations depicting that data along with the data dashboard. I would like to have a short analysis in the form of key themes and bullet points produced that I can discuss with my principal at the end of the year conference. Next, I would like you to conduct a correlational analysis of whether there may be a relationship existing between the iReady scores and attendance data. So let's go ahead and take a look on GPT-4, and I'm going to blow this up so you can see here. I put in the prompt, and I take in these attendance and iReady scores. Next, it began. And what's great about, I like about GPT-4 is it always kind of tells you its methodologies. So it's going to tell me exactly what it includes and what exactly it's going to do for its next steps. And what I like to do is essentially read it and verify. And you're going to say yes or no. And you look at it and you agree. If not, you need to provide it more context. But then I said yes, and then it's begun with its descriptive statistics. And that's like the mean, median, mode, standard deviation, all those types of items related to statistics. So it's going to conduct that for the reading and math scores as well as the attendance. So this just shows me a general trend here related to the scores that are quarterly scores, and then it talks about standard deviations. And I can, in my next prompt, if it doesn't give you the exact numbers, you can just say, yes, please provide me with those numbers. And below, I believe I do that. Here's the attendance. So it shows me the numbers here. The days missed, the mean for the class, the average days missed was 14 days for that school year. Then 16.6 days, suggesting variability. The minimum students missed was 0. The most was 54 days. So just looking at those, we can see there's a wide range between days missed and days not missed. Now it's giving me visualization. So let's begin with the iReady scores. So if you look here at the very top, we can see across the entire year, here's the reading scores going up from quarter 1 to quarter 4. So we can see over the course of the year, especially if we're looking at this yearly in quarters, that we can see a growth in student scores. And then we can see here for math, there was a dip from quarter 1 to quarter 2. And then quarter 3 to quarter 4, we saw that increased. So we can see these trends. And maybe in quarter 2, we can realize if we're looking at this as a year, we can look at this at that particular quarter. Maybe in the quarter 2 is very difficult concepts that we're working on during that time of year. Maybe it was in 3rd grade thinking about fractions. That could be a very difficult time, and it required a lot of practice. And maybe in quarter 3 and quarter 4, we're reviewing fractions and working on concepts that built upon fractions, and we're improving. So you can see these trends. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, we can pin it down to other days. Here's the days missed as a histogram. We can see the trends. So not many students, more than 8 students missed 0 days. And we can see across the board, only 1 student missed 50 days. And we can see how that line looks across the board. So the vast majority of our students missed around that 14.4 mark, which was the average. Then we did a final calculation of a correlation between the iReady scores and attendance. So we're looking at a relationship between the students that, their overall mean attendance score and their average reading and math scores. And we're looking at if there's a relationship between those 2 variables. And it's important to note that we conducted this correlation with these variables here. And this is just the iReady scores. So you can see right here, these are the relationships between these iReady scores. And then we can see them across the quarters of these, then talking about the correlation. So it says reveals strong correlations between consecutive quarters, between the iReady scores. Now it's going to examine the relationship between iReady scores and days missed. So here's the relationship between days missed and the math and reading scores. So we can see that there's positive, negative relationships here, but I'm going to say in a minute that we need to calculate for one value in a minute to determine whether there's a statistically significant relationship between these variables in attendance. So you can see here, average reading score and math score, and then days missed. And then here's its analysis. The correlation coefficient helped us understand that there's a significant relationship between attendance and reading and math as well. And then it gives us a quick summary of what's going on here. And it says descriptive statistics show improvement in iReady scores from Q1 to Q4 across the board. The illustrations illustrate the progress made over the course of the score year. And then the correlation analysis indicates the strength of the relationship between academic performance, reading and math, and attendance. So we do have some positive correlations, but I'm going to come back here in a moment. And I had to ask it, what are the p-values of the correlations that you performed? Because it's important for us to know that whether it's a statistically significant relationship or not. So here we go. Reading and days missed is a p-value of 0.28. And then the math and days missed was 0.047. And you can say here that the correlation between the reading scores and days missed is not statistically significant because it's greater than 0.05. However, the correlation between the average math scores and days missed is significantly significant because it is less than 0.05. So really, if we're looking at the correlation, we need to understand that the math score is statistically significant with the relationship between the days missed and those overall math scores. And we can't really take that relationship between reading and attendance because it is not statistically significant. So we may have to throw that correlation away. But we can take a look at the descriptive statistics to really help us see that reading progress over the course of the year. But we can make an argument that, hey, my students missed a lot of school. There's a relationship with those that missed a lot of school and their overall iReady math scores. And then I asked it to do a quick summary, and it gave me a quick summary of the results here that I could take to my end of school conference with my principal. And you could possibly copy and paste this graphs into a short little slideshow to present. So that's talking about just that data analysis piece with those scores. But let's say if you're an instructional coach or a instructional leader, like a principal or someone from the district office, you're looking at coaching data for the entire year and you're looking at coaching cycle data. So I've taken 2 photos of essentially PDFs of coaching data that look like coaching cycles and coaching data for the entire year from hypothetical school. And what I did here was I upload these 2 pictures here, one highlighting the coaching cycles over here to the left, and then the one to the right here is just my overall coaching data between various school sites. And here is what is shown here in my prompt. You are an instructional coach analyzing data from the 2022-23 school year, as well as coaching cycle data from that year. Your job is to do a comparative analysis of both PDFs of data I'm providing you. First, do a descriptive analysis. Next, I would like you to compare the coaching data from the year with coaching cycles. Determine based on your analysis whether you see a relationship between the completion of the coaching cycles and the yearly coaching data. Provide your analysis within a table. So I'm looking at essentially comparing the coaching cycles as well as overall coaching data for essentially what are some common trends that we're seeing here. So it's giving me a descriptive analysis of total cycles that we had of the coaching cycles. 57 total, 39 were completed, 19 were incompleted. Coaching cycle growth, 19% of educators make growth. Impact of coaching cycles shows gains in specific areas in planning, assessment. 39% of educators participate in coaching cycles for that school year. And this particular coach had 62.94 hours logged for those coaching cycles. Then we're looking at the yearly coaching data, and it provides us with the types of engagement and hours. Talked about frequency. It talked about the most frequent were observations followed by coaching sessions, which makes sense if you're using a pre-observation, observation, post-observation cycle, as well as learning walks. And then this particular coach was a tech coach as well, and they were doing some tech support as well. Frequent tags. And now here's a comparative analysis, and it shows a breakdown between the coaching cycles and yearly coaching data. So overall, it shows the significant efforts in coaching, and then shows a broader scope of engagement rates of teachers, interactions throughout the entire school year. So this is really cool. We can see kind of in two different lenses of what's ultimately going on. And we could grow this analysis if we had, say 10, 20 coaches. We could put in the same type of data into this and then draw a number of conclusions about where our coaching is going. And we could add another number of variables related to test scores, a variety of different other variables that we could add. So there's a lot of different things that we can do here with this, but this is just a quick demonstration to do this. So that is with the PDFs piece or the picture piece that includes data that are already on those types of artifacts. And I use the visualizations with it. You can use additional prompts to create these visualizations on the data. So, because I think visualizations are really important, as if you are a teacher, coach, school leader, you want to create visualizations so that the data tells a story. So whenever you're uploading this data, these are additional prompts that you can use for these visualizations. Because it ultimately will help you describe what's going on with the data, and you can tell a story and present it to stakeholders. So I really recommend that you develop using these visualizations. So let's go beyond the data and let's go into evidence-informed practices. You can use the Consensus app on GPT that can really help you analyze your data and go deeper into research that you can start taking a look at to determine practices that you may want to further look into and talk about with stakeholders based on your data. So here's a prompt that I like to utilize is that you are now in educational research, take the X data analysis and results, copy and paste those analysis into the prompt. And I would like you to find several studies to support this analysis, as well as provide recommendations on practical instructional interventions, such as math and reading strategies, because we're going to be using the same output for that reading and math, as well as attendance data. So here we go. So here's the prompt. That's why I mentioned GPT 040. So I put in, and then I put in the report. And it's talking to consensus, and it's giving me some ideas relating to supporting studies in practical instructional interventions related to student achievement, reading and math, and engagement and attendance. And what I like about the consensus app is it gives you a starting point. Ultimately, it is a starting point, so you need to take these with a grain of salt, but it gives you opportunities to examine the abstract of a study, access to full text possibly, access to PDF, and look at a wide variety of snapshots related to it. And if you're a researcher like me, you need to look at this in particular to determine whether this is a valid and reliable study that you may want to take a further look at as strategies that you could possibly use in the future. So I like how this gives you a starting point and suggestions based on your data of studies to begin diving into. And what I like to do is I'll access the PDF of the study. I'll look at the results if it's a study that I want to target, and then dive into its citations and look at where it got its research from, as well as look at the results and the methodology. But this is essentially the workflow to get started after putting your data in and your results and starting to dive into possible practical solutions that you can start thinking about within your context to help support student learning and support teachers to help them improve their instruction. And also, if you have an attendance issue, what are some strategies maybe we haven't tried to help boost engagement in school and students coming to school. So ultimately, I like to use this kind of pyramid workflow with starting at the top. Number one is collecting the data. And then you're going to use data analysis using AI. And then you're going to develop reports and action plans to progress monitor. So another step that you can go is create action plans and SMART goals. I'm not going to go into that today, but you can take a lot of your results and kind of develop goals, as well as use it in the SMART goal format to make them specific and measurable and actionable, reliable, and have time. So you can use these essentially to build those out and then use those to progress monitor if you would like. So that's the additional step. I like to use these first three to get started. And now you can use a prompt like this to jump in and develop those progress monitoring goals or metrics that you want to measure your goals with, or particular data metrics, so that you can essentially see what they look like over time. And then you can also use a similar prompt like this to use that data to help develop a presentation outline to present to teachers and the school community. And it can be an action plan draft that you can start building out and revising. So that's essentially it. And I always like for everyone to reflect, as you are right now, what are 3 key ideas that you can take away from this? What are 2 extensions that you can do? So essentially, could you go ahead and try this and maybe research more about how to conduct the statistical analysis and maybe review your statistics? And then what questions do you have? So feel free to think about those things as we go on. And I hope that you can check out my website, my podcast, and my various books, as I think there's something for everyone. And I appreciate your time, and thank you for listening. Eric, I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I was I have so much going on at home here. I said you had me at time saver, and you definitely, as a creative who's very visual, it was very important, like you said, to bring out the visuals, because we get my district is really data driven for so much, and it's so powerful. But I always look for the graphic because, this is what right brain people do. We did have a question here from Michael Davola. He says, do you plan on making AI bots for this?
Yeah, I mean, I've dabbled with making GPTs for this, and I think that you could definitely do it. And where I do see a lot of schools going with is that you make your own data analysis bot for your school, but you upload all the data that you're able to collect at one time about your school, and you can use that GPT essentially as your data analysis bot for your school. And I see that coming a lot more in the future, because we'll connect essentially GPT to an institution, and it will know essentially everything about that institution, and can draw upon a certain data set that the administrator is given permissions for access. So I do see that happening for sure. And I've dabbled with creating my own, and it's been a lot of fun with my own data and hypothetical data I've been playing with. So I recommend it. But yeah, it's really interesting process, and I recommend just trying it yourself and then sharing it with others.
Oh yeah, that's great advice. I mean, it's all coming so fast. It's insane. Even when I was making my own presentation, I can't keep up with the tools. But the GPT-4, that's super exciting. It just seems like it just yesterday all this started, and look where we are now, and look where we're going.
I can't believe it's been like a year since I really started playing with this, and a lot of it is just evolved quite quickly. And I always recommend to everyone that with these tools is that focus on the main models themselves, because a lot of these additional outlying tools may become obsolete because of the newer features. So, be judicious in keeping to the original models. And then, I think sometimes, just be patient, as a lot of these features will come out with the original models.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, it's so true. I know. And it just blows my mind every time. I have a feeling by the end of this week, my brain's going to be so much bigger, so much. But thank you so much. That was brilliant. And a lot of people are very happy here in the chat box. They're all going to your website and bookmarking it. So thank you for being here. So up next, we have Rochelle Danae Poff. So stay tuned for that. And thanks again, Matt. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Erica. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good one.
It's my first time outing this. Okay, there we go. Bye.
Hello and welcome to the Premium AI Strategy Accelerator, the ultimate program for schools, colleges and universities and businesses that want to lead in the AI revolution. Before you apply, let me tell you how this program works. Who is this program for? We focus on helping a hand-picked team of 6 to 10 change makers in your organization. And this elite innovation squad will become your internal startup, pioneering AI-driven solutions that define your organization's future.